everyone, and welcome back to the Renegade Society radio show. Hello, all my fellow renegades out there watching. Thank you for spending some of your Friday evening or Friday, I guess, early evening with us, depending on where you are on the coasts. I am your host, Amanda, and we are going to be talking about some really cool stuff today with some really cool folks. But before we jump into that, I would just like to give you a few reminders of things that are going on in the Renegade land. So we do have the Snallygaster situation, which is now available for pre-order. And honestly, I was also just on our Twitter like a second ago, and I was just reminded of how beautiful it was. I caught myself like staring into it because it's so pretty. So you definitely want to check that out. And not only is it pretty, it's fun. So it's basically the whole package. What more could you want? We also have the updated World's Fair 1893, which is now available on Amazon as an Amazon exclusive, and that updated version now includes diverse and playable influential figures from history. It's so awesome, and it's really cool to see that integration and all that awesome diversity we packed in. We've also got the Gravwell second edition, which is now available for pre-order, and it is beautiful, and you also get to play with one more person, so it does add another additional player, so you have up to 6, and it also adds in unique player powers, which is super cool. And today we're going to be giving away a copy of Raiders of the North Sea. So for all my renegades out there excited about Raiders of the North Sea, keep your ears open because I will be giving you a code word later in the show, and Desiree will be providing a link to enter that word in the chat. So keep your eyes and ears open, friends. And if you have any questions for my guests today are going to be from Man vs. Meeple. I have Ryan and David with us. I'm so psyched. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, everybody out there.
I'm great. How are you both doing?
We're doing all right.
Yeah, not too bad.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to fill our Friday nights doing this with you.
Yay!
That's right.
Well, we are very happy to have you. So thank you for taking some time out of your evening. And if anyone has any questions for David or Ryan, feel free to throw those into the chat. We will be getting to them later. And yeah, you can throw them in as soon as they come up, and then Desiree will be coming back to them after. So before we jump into it, friends, if you could just tell me a little bit about sort of who you are, what you do, and where we can find both you and your work online for everyone watching.
All right. Well, I'll start because I do far less than Ryan. He has all sorts of things going on above and beyond Man vs. Meeple. But you can find me on Man vs. Meeple doing all sorts of videos. We do, reviews, previews. If you're watching this show, I'm crossing my fingers that you're familiar, or at least you've heard of Man vs. Meeple. If not, please go to Man vs. Meeple on YouTube and check us out. We do, like I said, all sorts of stuff. Reviews, all things board games. Ryan does a lot of that too. Plus...
That's true. I do a lot of MVM stuff. I also do MVM Live, which I started with Kira, who's also a member of MVM. We do MVM Live every Wednesday at noon. We've kept that up pretty steadily almost every Wednesday for 2 years now, which is great. I do a lot of other industry stuff. I work part-time for GameFound, which is a pledge manager. I write role-playing games and I write for board games. And I just like to do a lot of different things because I love gaming. I love the industry. And I want to see as many different aspects of that as I can. And of course, like being part of MVM has just been a blast. It's been several years now that we've been doing this, and hopefully it'll be several more.
Yeah. Ryan, is that mostly because you get to work with me?
Do I have to? No, working with everybody. Working with everybody
right?
Everyone else. It's everyone else, I think.
Well, since the pandemic, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but since the pandemic, I don't really remember what it's like to work with people.
That is
I don't
true.
even.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. Yeah, so many like amazing things. Also, I feel like everyone that's watching this probably has heard of Man vs. Meeple because
I hope so.
You're so big. Like it's just a big channel, and you all do so many things as well, just on the channel and with all the different shows that you do. So yeah, if you somehow have missed out on this, like, you're welcome, because now you can go follow it, and it's really fun and really great.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for making the content.
Yeah, of course.
So jumping right into some stuff that I want to talk about. I was sort of just going back and watching some of the stuff recently that you all have been doing, and just you're getting me excited about games because I am a little behind on some of the new stuff that you had up. So I was just going through and being like, oh my gosh, this game, oh my gosh, I didn't even know about this is out. And I was getting pumped. Do you have any games that you've played recently on the channel that you like are just in love with? And how is it making content together? Like, are you making any content together right now?
Well, like Ryan said, we do make some content together. We've kind of all of us have been kind of in the same little bubble, if you will. We've all been very careful. There's been periods where we wear masks. There have been periods where we're together and kind of trying to stay somewhat distant while we play together and stuff like that. But like Ryan and Kira work together quite a bit. So they do the live stream every Wednesday. And we have done some content where at least 3 of us, maybe 4 of us have gotten together and done like a round 1, which is our show. It's kind of our version of a playthrough. We don't always, the round 1, the concept anyway, is that we just play the first round or so of a game, and then we finish the game off camera, and then we come back and talk about the whole thing, because we kind of want to try to avoid the 2 hours and 37-minute playthrough, because I don't know, at least I don't usually watch all the way through something like that unless I turn it on, fast forward. But we have been getting together, but like Ryan said, also we're doing our own separate stuff too. He's built that set at his house. My house, as of yet, does not have a set, but I am building one very soon. So we're constantly changing and constantly trying to even change our sets, not as well as our content.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, and the sets are so diverse. Like, we're going to get to that in a bit, because I definitely was just looking at all of these things and being like, where is this? And then where is this thing? And is this all one place? And what's going on? So I have lots of questions about that. But but I also feel like the sets that you even have right now are just awesome. I don't know, is that a dog in the background with you, David? What is on that picture?
But
it looks great.
This is an old picture that I had forever. This is kind of my streaming situation right now. I sit in front of this sort of semi-cool looking bull terrier picture that I got probably from Marshalls or TJ Maxx back in the day for $50 or something like that.
Well, it does look really cool, so I feel like you're crushing it. Yeah, it looks good. It's also just that very simplistic, but you still get that little bit of a pop of color and personality. So I love stuff like that. Very clean.
That is one thing we've always tried to do. One of the things when we first started, we wanted to try to do something that looked a little more like an IGN or something that involved some quote unquote sets. So and we've never really gotten away from that. I mean, honestly, most of the time we try to sit in front of something that looks put together. Even if it's a bull terrier picture sitting behind us, we just try to frame it well. Like I said, we were talking a little before off camera, just outside the frames here, it is a disaster area, but it is, the smoke and mirrors hopefully are still working.
That is how it always goes though, right? So many people, if they could just see the flip sides, I feel of anything that you're doing, it's oh man, it's also, even when you think about a movie too though, right? When people are making films or making television, what you see in the frame and all of that, and then on the other side of it is just a bunch of people
a guy eating a donut at the craft table.
Yeah, someone maybe holding a fan up, there's all sorts of stuff, or you see someone talking on screen and then behind them is maybe someone holding a tennis ball, because that's who they have to, the actor's not on set. So it's crazy.
One of the things we've heard, because at a couple Gen Cons, we've had sort of get together since we're here in Indy. And we've had different people from the community, the board gaming community, come to our sets. And almost unanimously, everyone sees them and goes, oh, I thought it was so much bigger, because our 2 sets that have traditionally been on the channel are just in one small, not really small, but one space in Jeremy's basement. And when you're standing in it, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of room, but on camera, since I think the imagination makes people think, oh, it's like some giant studio, but alas, it is not.
The illusion. I love the illusion.
It's all about the illusion.
And getting back sort of to the first part of my question, but we are going to talk about sets, because so many things. But is there any games that you've played recently when you've been making content for the channel that you've just been like obsessed with? It's like your new hotness, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead, Ryan.
always happens. Well, first of all, let me say we've been covering a lot of games lately, and I am a huge fan of Vampire the Masquerade, and I'm kind of known for being a Vampire the Masquerade guy. Any kind of Vampire the Masquerade stuff that we get comes to me, and there has been a lot of Vampire the Masquerade games that have come out.
Yeah.
And I got to play Rivals, which actually Renegade did the pre-order for Vampire the Masquerade Rivals, which I became obsessed with, and I think when that game comes out, I'm gonna play it like crazy. And then Vampire the Masquerade Chapters is coming out later this year, which is more of a role-playing game. And then Vampire the Masquerade Heritage, which is more of a legacy style, almost like a Euro-ish game. All three of these games are fantastic, and I've spent a lot of time with all three, and I will probably be playing all three of them quite a bit going forward. None of those games are out yet.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one that we covered that is out now, and it would be Dune Imperium. I just cannot stop playing Dune Imperium. That's been on my table a lot lately.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. You're making me excited for all this vampire content.
It's gonna be so. It's what a time to be a fan of Vampire the Masquerade. Really,
I know what you mean. And like this is like I just sort of found Vampire the Masquerade through. I mean, I've always heard about it as someone that plays RPGs, and people are always like, "Oh, you got to play this," and as someone who loves vampires. But through Renegade has been my like time to like kind of get more immersed in it, and I'm like, oh goodness, I'm gonna need to make some room for some things.
Yeah, you are. And then when we meet at a convention someday, we'll play Rivals.
Yes, yeah, I'm so ready. Oh
yeah,
my
goodness. When those happen again someday.
Yes, yeah, we'll have to compete. We'll have to like enter a tournament and see who can,
well, you know what? We can host a tournament, Amanda. The gears are spinning.
It's great. That's awesome. How about you, David? Is there anything that you are playing lately that you are just like, I need more of this all the time?
I haven't played Vampire, but Ryan is legitimately excited about that, though.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't often play something and then like call or text everybody and say, "Oh my gosh!" But I swear to you, he did that with Vampire, or the one that he played. What was that, like about a month ago, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it was about a month ago now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I recently played, this one is not out either. We play a lot of, and I know we'll get to this a little bit, but we do a lot of sort of spotlight content of games that are coming. And one that I did play recently that was a Kickstarter preview that we did was called Block and Key. This one's from Inside Up Games.
Yeah.
And their Kickstarter is done. I think it finished earlier this week. But it is this really cool spatial game where the box, you use the box to build the board. So, and when I heard about it first, he showed us this 2 years ago at PAX, PAX Unplugged, I think 2019. And I thought, well, is the box going to stay sturdy and everything? They came up with a really good solution. The box really puts together really well. You're basically taking these Tetris-y shaped 3-dimensional blocks, but they're in interesting Tetris type shapes, and placing them on the top layer of this 2-story board, if you will. And everyone's adding these blocks to the same structure. So you're trying to complete little objective cards in your hand. So as you place blocks to try to complete those, you're also potentially kind of screwing up the situation of the players on your left, right, and across, because you have to look at the structure from your side of the board and your perspective to complete your little cards. So it's this really interesting game, so much fun. And that's probably the one I've played the most recently. Even after we did the content, I took it around and played it with some family members. So yeah, Block and Key. Check it out. I don't know if there's a late pledge or anything for it, but it's something worth checking out.
Yeah, that sounds so awesome. This is a game that I have heard, like a lot of people have been like, oh, you have to check this out, especially because I also really love like anything that's like spatial awareness or any of those elements. Or it sounds also like really puzzly in like a satisfying way.
It is very puzzly. And if you've ever played a board game where you're waiting for your turn and you're sitting there saying to yourself, but thinking it to the other players, don't you dare put a block right there, because but then the flip side is cool too. Someone might put a block down to do their thing, but inadvertently helps you
Help you.
complete something that you're doing, which is really cool. It's a very fascinating game, and it takes a little more time than you'd think to wrap your head around it, because at first you're like, okay, you're just building blocks and
whatever.
But you really kind of, everyone's kind of like leaning down and looking at the board at a certain level. It's cool. It's very cool.
You know,
That's
David,
super cool.
the harder you wish for someone not to make a move, you're just increasing the chance they're going to do that.
Well, obviously, if you're thinking about it, they're definitely thinking about it. Mostly it happens in like worker placement games where someone's taking a thing and you're like, no, don't do that. Do not do. Oh. And then I'm sitting there for the next half hour APing my turn because it's been ruined by
that. Never happens. AP never happens.
No, I don't AP. I do.
Those are some of my favorite styles of game, though. Like, I love when you get that sort of anxiety over your turn of like, oh goodness. Like, I get that from things like Splendor and like Potion Explosion, and those games. Like, both of those games I'm obsessed with. So it's like, oh my gosh, when it's you're sitting, I can't look for stuff like that. That's my solution. I just don't look until it's my turn, because otherwise, I'm gonna fall in love with an idea and a move, and then it'll just get taken away from me, and it sours. I don't know if this happens to you, but does that ever happen to you when you're watching it and you watch it happen and then it's your turn and you're like, oh, now what do I do? And you just like can't even think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I do that a lot. It's like, why plan your turn when you know that everything you planned is not going to happen? Like, yeah,
it doesn't matter because the board changes so much, but it's also great because it means that every move you make is so like important to the like economy of what's happening, which I just think is so smart.
Yeah, so anyone that says Euro games don't have player interaction has obviously never experienced that moment when one player can derail your entire game with one little worker placement.
I really enjoy that sort of the agony of doing that too. And I also just enjoy tactical games like that where you're not like, I'm not good at long-term strategy in a game. Like if you have to plan turns in advance, I'm losing that game like 100%. In fact, I lose most games, but I like the tactical game where your turn comes up and you have to make the best of the very current situation that is in front of your face, as long as it's not an obvious action that you have to take. Like if it's your turn and it's like there's basically one best thing to do, that kind of makes for a boring game. But like I like the tactical aspect of like, okay, here's the situation now. I didn't think it was going to be this, but what's my best?
What are we doing?
Yeah. What's the most efficient thing I can do?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I also feel like, I mean, I do love a Euro where it's like you have so many choices that it's like there's just many different ways to like sort of get to that end. And I agree with you though. I definitely play those games and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, so this probably isn't going to go well. But I like the fun of trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. So I'll just be like, I don't know. What do I like? Like, it's like when I play Agricola, to be honest. That's a game that I play a lot where it just gets expansive and crazy. And then I'm just like, I guess I'm going to like go into this and sort of see how this path goes. And then I'll be like, okay, that worked, but I should have switched at this point. So those can also be fun, but it's definitely not as usually is nail biting for me. And the nail biter is like excitement, right? That adrenaline rush.
For sure.
Which is weird. I feel like most people, when they're looking from the outside of like board game hobbyists, they're not like, yeah, that looks like it's really exciting, but there's a lot of exciting moments in gaming.
A bunch of people sitting there like thinking really hard. Nobody's talking.
Yeah, it's funny because there are games that are like that. And then completely on the flip side, and this is a game that I have played recently, but it's not new. I recently played Death May Die Again, the Cthulhu game from Simon. Or Come On. And that I bring that up because it's a game where it's cooperative, but it is nail biting. And if you get down to the end, I've never played a game of it that wasn't a giant outburst at the table. And that's one of those things that even from the outside looking in, people, I think it was last year, our last convention that we were allowed to go to last year before everything, blew up. We were playing a game of it. And Ryan, if you remember, Ryan, you were like at a table nearby. And 5 of us were playing Death May Die, and it had come down to all of us had died except for one person, and it was a convention, and that one person happened to be a random person that we didn't know. It was like a group of us that we knew, and this one person who just kind of came up and said, "Hey, can I play?" And we,
play this?
we said, "Yeah." And we were like cheering for him. We'd all died. It came down to literally one roll of the dice. And it was one die needed to be one thing or the other. And we either won the whole thing or he died and we lost the whole thing.
Oh my
And
gosh.
when I describe that, it sounds like, oh, that's awful. You spent 2 hours playing for it just to come down to that. But it was so exciting and we lost. But we all had the best time. It was the most fun we'd ever had losing a game. And we blew up like we'd won. And Ryan, I remember, was like, what is going on over there? So, you know, when people see that at a table, I think even non-board gamers can kind of, you know, perk
Tap
up and
into
say, whoa, what is going on over there?
Yeah, 100%. That energy is just so contagious. It's really hard to like ignore it. I love stuff like that. I love those moments. And I think it's like what you're really doing when you're pushing all that time for that, you know, final moment of do or die is you know, pardon my pun. Is when you are basically competing to get the chance. That's what you're doing. You're competing to be like, if we hadn't played as hard as we just played, we wouldn't have even gotten here. So like this moment is still earned is I think what you're feeling, which is great.
For sure. And the big trick too is the game, as long as the game during that trek is also fun in and of itself. You know, I've played games that come down to that final roll, but it was kind of a boring experience up until that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it's a game that keeps you like, this is fun, and oh, we lost, it was still fun. Like the journey was fun.
Yeah, the journey 100%.
Yeah.
So to kind of move back to sort of what we were talking about before, actually, when it comes to sort of, you know, filming all of these live plays and all of the discussions that you have and some of the videos as well that are a little bit more, I don't know, I want to say produced, but I mean, I feel like all of your videos are very produced, but I guess I just mean like things that are like planned out. Like we have this shot, which cuts to this thing. Yeah, scripted. Thank you. That's a good word. What kind of like setups are you using for this? And like, what space do you have dedicated to filming? And how much equipment do you have? Because I just feel like there's so much going on all the time that I'm like, whoa, this looks like a lot.
Well, we probably have less equipment than most people would think. That's another thing. Is
I have my own answer for that.
What's that?
I said I have my own answer for how much equipment we have. The answer is not enough, and that's always going to be the answer.
We do, and to dovetail off of what Ryan just said, we have always kind of flown by the seat of our pants to a large degree. So. A lot of times, even when you see something that looks more produced, I mean, obviously we've given some thought to it, and some of our more recent stuff, like our more recent reviews and some of our how to plays that we've done, those are purely scripted 100%. The script is written beforehand. Obviously, there are some changes that happen, but as we're doing it, we're not like professional enough to where we're deciding on what the shots are going to be beforehand. So we're often in a space. We might have a couple sets, or I might be at my house, or we might be at Ryan's, and we're like, here, bring the camera over here. That looks cool. Let's do that. So then, you know, you've got Ryan like leaning down next to the table all of a sudden, and he's like, this is okay, but it's hard to talk in this position, you know, and then we just kind of like try to get through it as best we can. And that's the more produced stuff.
Right. No storyboards.
No storyboards, yeah. So you come at it more with an idea of sort of what you want to do, and then you kind of know like where it's going, but you don't really know exactly how you're getting there yet.
Yeah, the more produced stuff for sure. And then back in the day, like when we started the channel, most of that is our big crutch was the set. Like the set and multiple cameras.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to like give our secrets away, but multiple cameras is the simplest way to look better than you are, because we set up multiple cameras, and then if there's two of us on camera, we can riff off of each other, and we're pretty much just shooting from the hip, talking about a game, and we get into a rhythm where we can kind of like you know when the other person's going to tail off, and you're ready with something to say, and then it's all in post that we can kind of make it look good, because we're just changing cameras and like covering things with a photo. that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like the smoke and mirrors is a real thing for sure.
And I think editing is a key thing. Like, if you really want to be good in this business, become good at editing. Like, and I don't know how many times that we've done a video and we had to go back and do reshoots or shoot some B-roll. Maybe we missed a shot that we really wanted, or maybe there's a rule that we had wrong or didn't explain correctly, and we have to go back and reshoot. So just, I think that this is a skill that you just have to learn over time by doing this, just like David said. But using multiple cameras, like setting up like you're in a studio, which we are in a studio, and treating it like that has just made our lives a lot simpler and has allowed us to do this produced content. That's the benefit of somebody that just sits in front of a camera and talks is great. And I think there's a lot of room for that content, but that just wasn't what we were going for at the beginning, or what David and Jeremy set out to do when they started the channel. And I think that we've started to incorporate more of that, like live stream stuff and just like stream of consciousness talking, but we still like to go back to the really produced, edited content.
Yeah. I love that though. And I think there's definitely room for both of those things. And you are so right. Editing is so much of content creation and making things look amazing. I don't know what I would do without people producing and editing the content, because I would probably just look like a fool most of the time. But yeah, do you edit your own content, or do you have a team of editors? Yeah,
we wish. Do you know a team of editors willing to work for next to nothing?
No, not for next to nothing, sadly.
We edit all of our own stuff. Usually if it's like one of us, if it's a video I'm doing, I do the whole thing. If it's a video Ryan's doing, although Ryan has done some editing for us in the past as well, but not as much anymore. But yeah, and that's the interesting thing. Although that's a fair amount of work, and we're all self-taught too. Like, we literally just bought Premiere and kind of fiddled around until we figured it out. But I've always said you're just like a YouTube video away from figuring anything out in any of those programs. So we've taught ourselves over the last few years, and it is something that takes a lot of time, but it's also a great creative outlet. Like, I love the editing part. It's like a love-hate relationship. I think Ryan would say the same thing. It takes a lot of time, and it is work at the end of the day. But then when you look at it when you're done, and you've done little tweaks here and there, or done that perfect edit where, like Ryan said earlier, there's been times where we've had to go in and redo audio.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the joy I get of dubbing in audio over video and literally trying to sync up just like a 3 or 7 word phrase to my lips, and it being so good that no one can tell. Like, no one will ever know except now that I'm saying so. But like, that's happened in the past, and it's so fun. Like, I'll bring my wife and I say, check this out, and she's like, what?
She has
And I'm
no
like,
idea.
well, you let me show you. And she's like, no, I don't. This means nothing to me. But
yeah, man, dubbing is so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It
It's so
is.
weird.
It feels like you're getting away with something. Like, oh my God, it's like our own
Don't tell
world of
anyone.
special effects. Like,
Right.
we've
Yeah.
done this thing and no one will know. And I'm saying these words, but it's not what I said at that time.
It's so good when you get it. And then the best thing though is when you dub something and then you go to show someone and you want to be like, basically like, do you notice what I've done?
Right.
And so you show it to someone and they're just like, yeah, I guess it's fine. What are you showing me? And then you're like, yes. And they're like, okay, bye. Like, gonna go away now.
I've done so many edits where I've had to do a dub and there's just times when like an edit or a dub is just not up to your standards, but there's kind of, you've done the best you can do. And I'm just waiting. I'm like waiting for the publisher, or for David who's watching the video, or Jeremy's watching the video, or somebody in the audience to be like, why is this part so weird?
Yeah.
But then that comment never comes, and I realize nobody notices because nobody but me knows what it was supposed to look like. And
yes, yeah.
I think, to touch on your earlier point, Amanda, why we don't have other people editing, I think, just editing a regular video is one thing, but it's tough in the board game world, because the person that's editing the video needs to know the rules of the game just as well as I do.
Yeah.
And they need to have known what I was trying to say. Because there are times when I'm editing my own video and I realize, oh my gosh, that's wrong. I don't know why I explained that rule wrong. I need to go back and fix that. And somebody that's just editing that probably wouldn't catch that I made a
Yeah.
mistake with the rules
Yeah.
if they weren't super. And that's a big ask. Like somebody has, like Dice Tower has an editor that also like plays their games with them, and
Of course, yeah.
and you know, if we had that kind of a situation, then maybe, but they would really need to be there with me for the filming process, for the, you know, playing of the
That would
game
be tough.
process. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big ask. It's
That
a
would
lot
be-
of work.
That would be challenging. I think the other time that it comes up in my mind, and I think Ryan, you'll agree with this, is when you're recording. A lot of times, I'm problem solving in my head as I
Right.
record a piece, what I'm going to do in editing. So even our scripted stuff, this I do. We don't set up shots as much, but when I script something, I definitely highlight the parts that I know 100% are not going to be on camera.
Yeah.
So that we can kind of cobble it together and make it look like I was looking at the camera speaking from beginning to end the entire time. But
Right.
there's a lot of little things that you can do where you're like, okay, we screwed up. Okay, I'll just cut to this camera and then we'll pick it up. You know, it's fun to do that as long as we make the right decisions, because then inevitably sometimes we get into the editing room and I'm like, oh, we did not problem solve that the right way. So then we have to go back and figure something else out.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that's all right. That's all part of the process.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is a huge ask. I mean, I think that is the hard thing with any kind of editor that you get into where you're working with anything that is a very extensive, you know, like a hobby or a fandom or something like that, because you definitely need to have that knowledge, or you need to have, I guess, you know, just like a ton of information prior to going in to edit that video, whether it comes from your script or whatever, or you literally have the person there with you being like, yeah, this is this and this is that, and that's what you need to know.
Right.
But then that's a lot even for you to do, because then you're going to be there anyways. So you're like, I mean, I may as well just edit this. Like,
Right.
doing work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you know, we do a lot of, since we do our own editing, we like just like David said, with the little tips and tricks, like since I know I'm editing it and I know the way that I edit and I know what I use to edit, like it informs my entire process of how I film a video.
Yeah.
Because I know later what I can get away with. Like if I stumble over something, I know how far back do I have to go with this chain of thought in order to have it look good on camera. Like sometimes it's just a word, sometimes I have to go all the way back to the beginning of the video.
100%. And I feel like that's also so smart too, because it just makes you all more well-rounded, you know, creators, as well as just like people. Like now you have a bunch of skills that you can always keep in mind when you're doing something, which, I mean, hey, the more skills you have, I think that
I
only
gotta
makes you
say,
stronger.
that is, I mean, just learning how to edit, not that it's something you can use. Well, I mean, honestly, these days with as many people that put videos together, even just for their personal life, let alone just anything on YouTube, these skills have been something that I think are great to have. Like even just the problem solving of like teaching ourselves to use Premiere and After Effects and getting into the graphics and stuff like that. That has been a huge opportunity for us, because I've taken some of those skills learning After Effects and done some other work in the board game industry, where like some Kickstarter trailers and stuff like that, that they don't have anything to do with our channel, but it's stuff that we've built, a knowledge base that we've built doing the channel to get there.
Yeah. Well, you can always take those skills and apply them somewhere.
Yeah.
And editing is very creative. Like it is, I haven't edited in a long time, but back when I used to edit, I loved doing it. I thought it was so much fun. And I was using, I think, what was the Apple program? iMovie? I don't know if they still iMovie, and then there was
or Final Cut or
I came in at like the start of Final Cut. I feel like Final Cut was just starting to take off, so I like dabbled a little bit in that. But yeah, I remember a lot of iMovie editing back in the day.
It's amazing what you can do. And like I said, now that we have this skill set, if anyone in your family knows that you can edit and they're like, hey, it's so-and-so's 50th birthday, can you do a thing?
So cute.
And you can. And honestly, I did those in the past with some old editing software, and I didn't know what I was doing. And now I don't really shy away from doing that for someone, because it doesn't take any time at all. Like you just get a song, some photos, and then they're like amazed by it. But it really wasn't that hard to do.
Yeah, no, and it gets easier the more you do it as well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, we kind of talked about a little bit about where you film and sort of what you use, and just I guess all the elements that go into it, which is amazing. But is there anything in particular right now? Like, is there a set that you have that you're really proud of, or like, do you have a piece in your set that you're like, oh, I love this? I just noticed your sets are so like diverse and just
Eclectic?
like full of
Yeah.
they're so eclectic and so like full of personality. And I'm looking at it and I feel like you are all in the sets, you know?
Well, now more than in the past. Ryan, do you have anything in your background there that speaks to Ryan's
well, I mean, honestly, I'd have to say, like, as a point of pride, like, I'm very proud of this set here. Like, this was an early quarantine project when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to really get to this set. I didn't know how long it was going to be till I saw David or Jeremy to even film with them. So I said, I need something. And this looked nothing. I mean, this basement was not finished like this. So putting up the drywall and finding this brick and like putting up everything. And then like, yes, right. If you see right behind me, I don't know where I can move everything on there. I don't know if I can get out of the way of it, but everything on there means something to me, like games that I love, or like you'll see the Assassin's Creed figures on top, or the D&D books, or the Bastion Lego set from Overwatch. I even have a little like woodblock painting from Spirited Away, which is one of my favorite movies. So like I like to put little things on there that kind of just let people get to know me. And if you've ever seen some of my other videos where I film in front of my library, you'll see all my comic books behind me, all my Overwatch figures and Lego sets, because I'm a huge Overwatch fan on the side of doing all this stuff. So yeah, I like to just put little things that let people get to know me or like know my interests.
Yeah, I love that. And I definitely noticed all your Overwatch figures. I've noticed that before, and I'm like, that's obviously Ryan's into Overwatch.
Ryan has a lot of Overwatch figures.
Yeah,
for sure.
I really do. I don't know what it is about that world, but it just hooked me.
I mean, it also just is a super like cool world to live in, just even stylistically. So
for sure,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, to answer your question, I'd say one of our newest sets, which we unfortunately, sadly built, mostly Jeremy built early last year, right before the pandemic. So it didn't get as much use, but we did start using it when we could use it. And that set has a lot of our personality on it for sure. So is the same sort of general structure as the set we'd always had, but we kind of changed it up a little bit structurally, using different product and woods and whatnot. But then we littered it, and I mean littered it with stuff like what Ryan was just talking about. So if I had to pick on my side, if you will, of that set, the one piece, because I've collected stuff. We're nerds, first of all. I mean, if we don't scream that from the mountaintops when you just see us, we are gigantic nerds who love all things gaming and comic books and cartoons and movies. So I have a lot of stuff that I've had throughout the years that I've either had displayed in my house or stopped displaying in my house. And some of the stuff that I like the most are some of the statues from animation. I'm a huge animation fan. I love it all. Like I'm an old guy, so I like remember the Super Friends from the 1970s, but all the way through up all the like DC Comics animation stuff. But one of my favorite animated shows of all time, and this is not going to be like an earth-shattering bit
surprise,
of news, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I got this little piece that's been on the set for all of last year that is this super cute sort of chibi version of Aang, sitting with Momo sitting on his head, which is just a really, in fact, I have it. Well, it's in out of arm's reach right now, so I can't grab it.
But it's over there.
It's those sorts of things that I really like putting on there, because I do think people, I mean, they tune in and like to hear us talk about board games.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of people comment like, oh, wait a minute, is that a such and such statue behind you? That's cool. You're into that? And like Ryan said, it makes us maybe more relatable, or people can think like, oh, that's cool. I love Overwatch too.
Yeah.
So Ryan, what Ryan says, maybe this much more meaningful to people like that. I say the only other piece would be my Iron Giant, which is the other big, huge animation thing that I love.
And you also had a Batman animated series figure too, didn't you?
I did. I have.
I like that one.
A little Robin figure from Batman animated series,
That's
which
so
was
awesome.
like something about like a long time ago when there was a Warner Brothers store. But yeah.
Wow.
That's got to be like top 5 animated series for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Batman's
feel like
up
for
there,
most people-
Avatar's up
Uh-huh.
there. I love it all.
Yeah, I mean that's so cool, and I think you're right. I think it taps into what it does is it's like, I mean, why do we all love fandoms, right? Like, what is that really about? And to me, it's almost like a sense of community, a sense of like finding people that make you feel like, oh, like it's cool, and like, oh, like I belong, like we all like this thing. And so it does make you more relatable, but it also just kind of lets other people know that like they are seen, like if they are also a fan of something and they see you like loving it, they're like, oh my gosh, like it's like me, and you get the
Absolutely.
awesome connection.
I think it's absolutely vital that we all wear our interests on our sleeves and not
100%.
shy away from normalizing the things we love, even if
Right.
it, like I have friends that I went to school with who are not nerds or geeks like me,
Mhm.
who would kind of like, you watch cartoons kind of with their nose crinkled and like thinking it's childish. And I
Mhm.
go, yeah, I love cartoons, and I think the more, I think it's getting better and better. Like,
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
Yes.
by the time our kids are adults, like my boys, everyone they know watches anime, like
Sure.
all of them. So, and I don't think they're going to stop. I really don't
Yeah.
think they're going to get to a certain age and go, oh, now I have to be done watching anime.
No.
I think they're just going to do it. And I think some of us are some of the first generation that kind of just kept embracing those things that they loved. And they don't games in and of themselves. There are people who kind of look at board games that way. And I think it's silly because, board games are fantastic for your mind and to stimulate, what else can you do? It's no different than sitting around watching television or a movie.
Oh my goodness,
So
yeah. And I personally like have always been into cartoons and
Yeah.
probably will always love cartoons. So it's like that thing of, yeah, I think when you shout it from the rooftops like that, it gives it a sense of like, hey, like we can all do this, and it kind
Yeah.
of like welcomes other people to the fandom. That makes it more mainstream, which is great because then you're also like, oh my gosh, I'm just like everybody else. We all watch anime. We're all big nerds. Yay. It's
And
great.
also, if I shout it loud enough and I make sure everyone in the world knows how much I love Overwatch,
Yes.
hopefully the publisher that makes the first Overwatch board game knows to call me immediately.
Yes.
Like
That's-
and
that's
honestly,
important.
there have been conversations we've had with people that have been like with the Dark Knight board game, and we did the Batman the Animated Series board game where they're like, so I see you like Batman. Well, let me show you this Batman thing. And it really does kind of signal to people like what you're into, what kind of games you might like to play, or anything you might like to watch.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I'm trying to do that with Batgirl right now. People keep being like, oh, like Amanda, you should play Batgirl. And like when we have the movie and everything, like you'd be a good Barbara Gordon. And I'm like, yo, like just keep saying that, please. Cause like DC, like wherever you are, like, hello.
Somebody call
I'd
Jeff
love to be
Johns right
Batgirl.
now.
Call him. I'm ready. I'm ready to audition. So these are the things, right? You never know where celebrating what you love might take you or what doors it might open. So for anyone out there also like having like things that are closeted loves that are fandoms, like let them out, let them shine.
yeah,
For
let
sure.
that freak flag fly.
Do
Right?
it.
All right, friends. So before we continue on, I'm going to give this giveaway word out for everyone that's been waiting for the
Ooh.
Raiders of the North Sea giveaway. So our giveaway word today leads into my next question, and it is spotlight. Spotlight. So you can click the link that Desiree is giving you in chat, enter that word to enter the giveaway, and my fingers are crossed for all of you. Raiders of the North Sea is so awesome. I love it so much. So yes. And yeah, moving into that, I did sort of notice, and I have noticed over like sort of watching the content, that you kind of approach like the way you look at a game a little bit different than some other places do, which I love. And I would say that you focus more on like kind of spotlighting games than like arbitrarily, that's maybe a harsh word, but than directly reviewing them in the sense of like, oh, this game's garbage, oh, this game's amazing, which is what I think of when I think of like reviews usually. So can you talk a little bit about what the difference for you is between like a review and a spotlight, and why you think spotlighting games is important in the industry?
Oh, well, first of all, we might steal your term spotlight, because
I like that.
So we've done a lot of previews is what we call them when we're not reviewing something. So we do a lot of these for Kickstarters, generally games that need to get some attention. When a company's like, hey, can you help us and basically put our game on your channel, talk about it. So when we do something like that, like you said, we are just spotlighting it. We try very hard to stay kind of agnostic as it relates to how we feel about the game. And we just kind of say, here's what the game is, here's what it does. Maybe you want to check it out. Now, with that said, sometimes we play some of those and we're like, this is really good. So that natural enthusiasm can start to seep out a little bit. But we don't generally kind of endorse or sort of like thumbs up, thumbs down, those sorts of things. And that is, when we started the channel, to be quite frank, that falls into the category of our paid content. So like to get the business going and to do that, we've done a lot of that over the years. But we also do reviews. And to kind of talk about one of the things you just mentioned about sort of like, I hated this game or I love this game. One of the things about our reviews, and we have gotten some flack for this over the years, is probably being more positive than negative, generally speaking.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you think that's where you go? Well,
I mean, first and foremost, easily the number one answer to that question is if we played a game and we don't like it, there's just a natural desire to not want to spend any more time with that game. I don't want like, oh, you know what? Now that I hate this game, I want to do a video on it.
And talk about how much I hate it.
I've never felt that desire.
And that's the other thing. I know it's probably easy, low-hanging fruit in the world of YouTube to go, oh my God, I hate this game. That'll make a good video because people love to talk, love to watch someone hate
something. Yeah.
And so that brings me to the second part of the answer is we generally just don't like doing that. Like, I'm not a big fan of like,
bashing games,
being harsh on something. I am a giant believer in don't yuck on someone's yum. So there are going to be generally people who like a game. There's games that I don't like at all, that I just do not like playing.
Yeah.
Is it a bad game or is it just a game I don't like playing? It's probably the latter.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say this is a bad game because there's probably thousands and thousands of people out there who enjoy the game. So it would kind of be a disservice to our viewers to even say something like that. So those are some of the reasons we gravitate more towards doing the positive content. And like I said, when you play a game and you love it and you're like, my gosh, this is awesome, you naturally want to tell people about it. Like, just like when I watch a show and I'm like, oh my God, have you watched Ted Lasso? If you haven't watched Ted Lasso, you have to watch Ted Lasso.
You really do have to watch Ted Lasso.
And side note, you should watch Ted Lasso if you haven't. Or WandaVision. I mean, there's things that are so good in my opinion that I'm like, I need to be an advocate for this. And when we started the channel, and something that will always be the case forever and ever, is that we want to advocate the hobby. So we're generally going to be putting out positive things for the hobby, for like, do this.
Yeah.
We think you'll enjoy it. And that's going to build a more positive sort of flow of new people into the hobby, as opposed to saying, hey, here's 5 games that are awful. I don't know that helps anyone. Generally, those games that aren't great, no one's confused as to whether or not it's not great. I mean, usually people kind of know. There's other people, there's all sorts of content out there, and there's some people who will do that. And if no one's talking about a game, like across many channels, maybe you might get a sense that it's not phenomenal. It could still be a good game, but probably not like the next big thing. Yeah. So, I mean, that's some of the reasons as a channel we do. On a personal level, Ryan, do you have any?
I've got 2 things I want to add to that. First thing is, like, obviously from the start of Man vs. Meeple, we kind of took more of like a news desk approach to things. And I think we were kind of known for that. Like, and I think talking about what's new or shining a spotlight on basically as information for our viewers. Like, you want to know what Kickstarters are coming out this week? Come to our channel. I want to be the place where people go to look, and then they can decide, do I like this game? And not just Kickstarters, games that are coming out straight to retail too. I want people to be able to look and see a completely unbiased look at that game. What do the components look like? What is the gameplay like? they don't need to necessarily hear my opinion. They just want to know more about the game so they can make their own educated decision. That's one big thing. And then David touched on this, but it's a lot of time spent to review a game, to really critically review a game. You need to play that game multiple times and just really dive into it and take it apart. And if I play a game and I go, ugh, like I didn't like that, I don't want to go back to that game and dive into it. Like I don't want to play that game over and over again.
Yeah.
Sure, like I can do that, and I can have a really critical, nuanced approach to why I don't like that game. But this is not my day job, right? Like there's only so many hours in the day that I do this, and especially with COVID right now, gaming time is very scarce, and I really don't want to use up that gaming time playing a game I don't like just so I can figure out why I don't like it, right?
Yeah.
And we're always looking at new formats to kind of just talk about those games more casually, where we can say, yeah, that game exists, I didn't like it, let's, it just wasn't fun. And we'll do live streams of games, like where games that we think need a spotlight, or maybe we don't want to do a full review but we really like, we'll do a live stream. Or I have my new program I've been doing called Shelf Space, where I just talk about games that I've added to my collection. And like I don't feel pressure to score these games necessarily. And maybe these games aren't even like great games, but they're games that I like and the games that I enjoy, that I want on my shelf. And I think maybe we take this a little too seriously, but I know David and I both believe that games are so subjective. I have a really, really hard time standing in front of somebody and saying that game is bad.
Yeah.
Because maybe like David said, I just don't like it. I'll be honest, Scythe is a game that never captured me. I'm not going to go out in front of an audience and say, oh, Scythe is bad. It's obviously not bad. That game has sold millions of copies, or approaching a million copies. It's not a bad game. It's just a game that I don't like, right? And that has to drive the way that we approach games.
I think everything you both said is just so valuable, and I just want to put that out there because I personally also feel the same way about a lot of any content that I make. Like I just don't make content that I can't stand by. So if it's something, if I need to speak positively about something and I don't like it, then I'm just usually I'm gonna not do that because I don't feel genuine about it. But I also, for that reason, tend to gravitate towards projects that I love and just want to celebrate them and help people find those things so they can love it too. Whereas I do think it's strange too when people are like, but why can't you just really hate something and make it burn? It's why would I want to put energy into that? That sounds painful.
Right.
Yeah, the tricky thing, not tricky thing, but one of the things that we hear from a lot of people is they feel like if there's negative reviews that it automatically makes you more credible. And, because we do positive, they just think we're just sort of saying,
you never dislike anything is what they think,
which is not the case. We just, we're just not the type of people who want to put that kind of content out there. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And I know there's millions of people in the world who want to watch someone rip on something.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the right thing for us.
Right.
So we try to avoid it.
And I think you touched on something really important there. And MVM as a channel, it's also a community. I mean, when I look in the comments, I see people in the comments that come to our channel and watch our stuff. And we have built, in my opinion, a very, very, very positive community. If you're in our Discord or if you're in the comments on our videos or our live streams, our chat is all very positive. People are talking about the games they love. We don't have a channel on our Discord for what do you hate? And, even people that are critical of games, or when we have these conversations, people are free to say, I didn't like that game. I think people that build their communities around hating things, which we see across all of pop culture. Mm-hmm. You all know the videos of hate this, hate that. Why is this the worst thing ever?
Oh yeah.
And those, if you ever watch those videos and read the comments, there's just everyone saying, oh, well, this company ruined this, or my childhood is dead now. And I don't want that kind of community as part of MVM. We want a positive community.
Community, yeah.
Be positive, right? And keep the channel positive.
I mean, with that said, Renegade did steal my childhood when they put out that one game.
Which one?
Which one?
No,
I was like, what did we
completely
do?
kidding.
No.
I'm completely kidding. No.
But yeah, I know and I feel that. And I mean, hey, like I love comics and I'm a huge part of that fandom and a lot of that community. So I 100% know what you're talking about because I feel like comics can be sometimes, and I fall into it too. Like I get why people do it. And it's
Oh,
not
sure.
that-
It gets views too, for sure.
yeah, well, I mean, it definitely gets views, but it's like that thing of like even as a fan, like I fall into those traps sometimes too, where I feel betrayed by something, and I have to stop and like check myself and be like, okay, but like let's take this entitlement and like put it somewhere else for a minute because what's really
right, and that's
Exactly.
why I'm very careful about what I watch because I want to like. I'll tell you just a little side
Feel
tangent.
that.
I've been getting really into the new Star Wars, the High Republic stuff.
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm just like I love it, and I want to go someplace and I want to talk about how much I love it. I don't want to talk about how much Disney has ruined Star Wars by making. I'm like there are just communities and places. I finally found one like actually on Reddit of all places that has a very positive approach to this High Republic stuff.
Yay.
But how many YouTube videos I watched where it was just people complaining and hating on, and I don't want to watch someone bashing this thing that I've just found that I love.
Yeah.
Like I want to celebrate it. So hopefully people
That's so
feel that
true.
way about MVM and games. Like they can come to us to celebrate games, right?
Yeah, I do. I feel that, and I love that positive energy. And yeah, I feel like the same way. I always just think too of the people that love something whenever it's something that like someone wants me to speak critically about or to bash, and I'm like, yeah, but even if I don't like it, I'm like, oh, but there's someone out there that probably loves this, and like me bashing it might make them like really sad.
It makes you feel like a jerk, or it would
really
make me
does.
feel like a jerk to do that. Yeah,
it hurts my heart to do it. Yeah,
right.
Because I just think of the things that I love, and if someone did it to me, and I'd be like, oh, but I love this.
And there's
like,
there's plenty of ways to say it. Like it's so easy to just say it's not for me.
Right.
Yeah.
You
I didn't love
to,
it.
You don't
Didn't
have
work
to
for me.
judge it.
Respect it, I think, is the important thing. To always respect any games or anything that comes across the table, because also someone like put probably a lot of love into that when they made it, and I know how hard it is to make a game. So yeah. So we kind of have to like wrap up a little bit. But before we wrap up, I knew we were going to do this too. We were talking about this before we started, and we were all like, ooh, we're going to talk a lot. But before we hop into the other questions from the chat, I wanted to ask you one more question, and I wanted to touch on something that you just talked about, Ryan, which is your series Shelf Space that you started. And I love this series.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's so awesome, and I think it's so valuable, and I have way too many games right now in my collection just for the space that I have. I know a lot of gamers out there will always say, oh, you never have way too many games, but yeah, I feel like when you live in the city and you're living in a small apartment, there is a point you cross and you're like, oh dear, I need to sleep in this place and also like move through it. So I'm gonna need to get rid of something. So I wanted to ask you about both of you about board game collections, and do you have any tips, quick tips and tricks for people that are just looking to like cull or organize their collection? Like for me personally, I have my board games are in about 4 or 5 different places in my apartment, like split up. So like I have a calyx and I try to keep them organized, but it gets a little crazy and hard to find stuff. So yeah, what are some tips that you think that people can put into use?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think one of the things that you have to do when you're looking at your board games is you have to like really think about why you're keeping a game. Like, are you just hoarding it? If you look at a game on your shelf and you realize I haven't played that game in 5 years, are you ever going to play that game again? Why do you still have it? Is there a reason that you have this game? And I know for some people it can be really, really hard to let go of games, but like, let's be honest. Most games that you own are probably not out of print masterpieces. Those games I can understand why people wouldn't want to get rid of. But, you know, if you have a game that literally like is just never going to see the table again, and I don't care, it might be a game that you love. Like you just have to really seriously ask yourself why you have it. Like we don't all we don't have the space to be hoarders, and we don't all want to end up on that show where we just are buried. They find me dead under a pile of board games that fell on me. And
it's going to be Scythe that does it, by the way.
That could easily be the case. And I think, you know, using something, I use an app to track my plays. And when you look back and you're like, wow, I haven't played this game in how long? It's like, maybe, you know, you're probably never going to play that game again. And also, like, if you know people in the end, like your friend group or your gaming group that have the same game as you, like, it's not like you'll never get to play that game again. You just won't own it anymore, right?
That last bit is a very good point. I do also want to point out that Ryan makes good points, but I'm not sure he necessarily lives by these words that he's saying right now.
Listen, like, that's why I put in all my shelving down, like, in my set, and I said, this is what I have, and this is how that shelf space came about. Like, this is the space I have. If a game comes in, a game has to come out, and this is all the games. If it can't fit, I can't keep it, right?
You have gotten better about that. And I also want to preface this whole conversation on this topic with the fact that we are in a unique situation in that we are board game content creators.
Sure.
So, like, that mess that I was talking about just off screen, it is literally piles of board games all over my house.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I did a good job of like organizing some of those. We get a lot of prototypes. So we'll have like temporary games that then get shipped out. But we get a lot of games, which is great. You know, it's not exactly a problem at all. But we do have a lot of board games stacked up everywhere. There's some on my kitchen, my dining room table. There's over here, everywhere.
Yeah.
So if to answer the question, like if in normal circumstances, I would subscribe exactly to what Ryan was saying. In terms of like having a space and saying, okay, because even I have one big long shelf like this. I have a huge mantle above my fireplace. It's very long. It goes across the whole room. That is my main board game shelf. That's my own personal collection. And I'm pretty sure I could maintain that collection with a one in, one out sort of approach. However, one of the things that Ryan just said was like, you could look at games and go, I haven't played that for 5 years or 3 years, even a year or two. And you could think to yourself, when will I get that out? On one hand, yes, you could get rid of that game. On the other hand, you could take it off the shelf and play it. And I've done that recently with some games. And when you do that and you inevitably go, oh my God, I forgot how good this game was. And then you play it again. And then, you might play it 2 or 3 times, from that sort of first experience, getting it back off the shelf. To me, especially if it's a classic, like Five Tribes is a game that falls into this category for me. Grand Austria Hotel, which is another one that I recently pulled off. And Grand Austria Hotel is an interesting one because I got it off and then I realized it was on one of the websites that you can play digitally. So then I started playing it digitally with some friends, and it becomes hard with some of those. But yeah, that's kind of the approach I think I would take too, is you look at it, and if you haven't played it in a long time, I would give it a shot. And you're like, yeah, I can live without this. Or if you have that experience where you're like, oh man, I forgot how good this was, then maybe it probably stays on my shelf.
I like that. I like the like, let's just revisit this and like see
one last try.
One last go and let's see. And I mean, even if you have one last go with it and you're kind of like, that was just okay, or like that was good, but it's not amazing. At least you're like, at least I got like one last like hurrah with this game.
I got my goodbye. I got to say goodbye to it.
Yeah, my goodbye.
And the thing is, there's so many games that come out on an annual basis now.
I know.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
As a gamer,
that's the problem.
There's something right around the corner, just as good or better in similar or different ways that you can replace it. So
yeah, it's both a curse and a blessing, is what it is.
For sure,
that's the problem. But all right, well, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm gonna throw it over to Desiree now and just see if we have any questions in chat.
We do actually.
Amazing.
So let's see. As folks who play plenty of games, do you have any either hidden gems or guilty pleasures, unknown games that you think deserve way more coverage than it's gotten?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I feel like we talk about some of this stuff on our show. One of the games this is what I always go back to, and I actually just talked about this on our Chit Chat Talk show. So maybe that's why it's at the front of my head. But there's this game that Eric Lang did called The Others, 7 Sins, which was his precursor to Death May Die, which we actually just talked about. This is a game that I have kept on my shelf that I play at least yearly. Right around Halloween, I like to do like a Halloween game from it. It just didn't get a lot of love. And even now, it just doesn't get a lot of love, and people kind of have forgotten about it. And I use every opportunity to remind people that this game was really, really, really good. And I think way ahead of its time. If it had come out now, I think people would just love it, and it would just be everywhere. But it was introduced, like, it brought a lot of like Euro mechanics into Amera style gaming, a lot like what
Yeah.
Death May Die did. And I just think people weren't quite like getting it at the time, or like weren't quite ready for, the Kickstarter that had like 6 different factions and all these different boxes and all this content. And, it just kind of came and went. And I think that's really sad. I think more people, if you can find a copy, like, try it. It's a lot of fun. I absolutely promise you will enjoy it.
So I don't know I don't know if these would qualify as hidden gems, but I have a short list, but I'll name 2. One is a game called Cryptid. This is from Osprey, and it is a deduction game that is just, in my opinion, the most brilliant gaming experience that can make you feel really, really, really smart or really, really, really dumb, depending on how you perform at the game. But man, when you figure it out and you win that game, you feel like a genius at the table. And it is so much fun when that happens.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I've been there too, where someone wins and they're figuring everything around the table, and everyone else at the table has some bit of information. And when you win and you go, you knew this, you knew this, you knew this, you knew this, and everyone's like, how did you even know any of that? You feel brilliant. So Cryptid, if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. And then an old abstract that I love is Corto. Again, I don't know that this is a hidden gem. It's been around forever. And I would generally describe it as like tic-tac-toe on steroids. But if that even sounds stupid to you, absolutely try Corto. It is so much fun. I love it.
I have never won a game of Corto ever.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, especially if people like Onitama out there. That is, I feel
Onitama
was
a good one.
That's a good example.
Or I was actually just going to say, I don't know if you've played Yinch before, David, but if you love abstracts, have you ever played Yinch?
No, I haven't.
That's my hidden gem for you. You can, I'll put it in in our chat before we go. But yeah, it's awesome. And anyone watching, I don't know if I think it's still in print right now, but it's one of my favorites. And a lot of people have never heard of it, but it was a game that when I worked at Snakes and Lattes, all of the staff, we all used to play it together like a ton when I started there. And it is amazing.
You have me intrigued.
That feels like so long ago now.
So long ago now. I know it was so long ago, but here we are in the future.
Right.
Awesome. So let's see. What is the biggest hurdle in the creation of content? They say, I remember you saying AC heater turning on was an issue.
That is actually an issue. I've had to edit. I've had to reshoot things because my AC turned on at the inappropriate time. Or, my set's in a basement, and, and our set at Jeremy's is in a basement. And sometimes, like, I'll forget that I like ran the washer or the dishwasher or something. And then my pipes will just start rushing water, and I just hear the sound. And, I'm so used to it that I don't even register it. But then when I'm editing the video, all I can hear is that sound of that water in the background. And I've had to reshoot whole audio pieces because of that. I would say that's a big hurdle, as more of just like a small inconvenience, but it does get kind of annoying. These mics pick up things that you don't necessarily think they pick up.
For sure. And I would say, aside from those sorts of things, like our own personal hurdles, if the person's asking this from like their own perspective, like they're curious, I would say one of the biggest hurdles is we have so many ideas and we want to do so many things. Obviously time is a bit of a hurdle.
That's true. Time is a big factor.
Also, at the beginning, just doing it is, as silly as that sounds and as cliche as it is, just try it and know in your head what you want to achieve. Even if you're like looking at some other content and going, oh, I want it to be like that, but for board games or something like, which is really what we did. We looked at other kinds of content and said, that's kind of what we want to do, but for board games. And just keep doing it. Just sit down in front of a camera and go and edit. And then eventually you look at the product and you go, it's pretty good. So just, go get to it and try.
So true.
Awesome. So let's see. This question is for David. Who would win in a fight, Green Lantern or Doctor Strange?
Oh boy,
Oh,
who's
boy.
asking this question?
That's an
Who
easy
is-
question.
Who is watching? This is someone who probably knows me, but as painful as it is for me to say this, no, you know what? I'm going Doctor Strange.
It's 100% Doctor Strange.
If
There's
this
no other
is-
answer
if-
here.
Are you
this
gonna
is-
go Green Lantern? I think it
Well,
depends on the Green Lantern. First,
Here's the thing.
Well, that's true.
As a kid, I grew up loving the DC stuff.
Oh, I love Green Lantern too.
And I love Green Lantern.
Yeah,
As silly
oh my
as some of
gosh.
his powers can end up being, I loved the Green Lantern quite a bit. But as I've grown up and with the MCU and everything, I've really started to love the Marvel universe.
You've gotten wiser with age, is what you're saying.
And that too. But aside from my fanboy love of one universe versus
I mean,
the other,
obviously, I
it
have a
has to be
preference.
Doctor Strange. I mean, he's the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, it's like interdimensional stuff.
Right.
And the Green Lantern, not to dismiss his powers, is really just limited. It's really just someone's imagination. I can do this thing.
I love the Green Lantern's power set of those constructs. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete with the Time Stone. Even if you get the advantage on Doctor Strange, all he has to do is like rewind time. Plus, he could just like teleport you anywhere. It's just it feels like a no-brainer to me.
And can I just take a moment to point out, if you didn't think we were geeks when you first started watching this, certainly now we've proven it. And if you want this thing to end anytime in like today, don't ask questions. Don't ask questions like this superhero versus this superhero.
Superman versus Batman.
What is your Green Lantern, David? By the way, who's your Green Lantern?
Through the animated stuff, it became more Jon Stewart probably, but I mean, I grew up with more of and I'm not a comic book guy. So like, honestly, when I grew up with the Green Lantern in like 70s and 80s cartoons, he wasn't given a name, but he was more like the Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
Right.
They never called him Hal Jordan in those cartoons, but I kind of grew up with Hal Jordan, but Jon Stewart. And I've once you start talking about the core, I become a little foggier on like those guys, but like, I'm familiar with Guy Gardner. And
I mean, yeah.
I love Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner, yeah. I'm not surprised, Ryan, that you're a Guy Gardner.
No, but I'm a Kyle Rayner fan. If we're talking just Green Lantern,
really?
Yeah. But if we're talking all lanterns, it's Saint Walker, 100%. So that's a whole nerdy thing that we could get into on another show.
But yeah, that is. I feel you, anyways, when we talk about chorus, because like I'm just getting into Green Lantern right now myself.
Oh,
so.
Sinestro Core Wars, you got to read that stuff. It's so good.
Oh yeah, Sinestro Core Wars is crazy.
All right. So, do you folks have any Grail games that have been impossible to find even today?
Yes, 100%. StarCraft, the board game, and its expansion. I want that game so bad. If you're out there listening and you are selling a good condition copy of StarCraft, I've looked for one that came with the Brood Wars expansion. I love StarCraft. I love that game. I have like the Forbidden Stars, which was the reprint, but man, to have that like original StarCraft game, I would love it.
I've got a very simple answer. No. I just don't like. There's no old game that I'm familiar with that really comes to mind that I'm like, oh, I must have that. And to be quite honest, if I did have that, I probably would have gone to stupid lengths to get it already, like at some point.
Sure.
And I haven't, so I don't have a Grail game.
All right. Would you rather more effort go into bringing back old favorites in place of the glut of the new stuff?
I think that's a double-edged sword. I think we're starting to see some people doing that. Like we have the second edition of Grand Austria Hotel come out. They recently did a big box of Hansa Teutonica, which I was a fan of. I think that there is definitely room to bring back some old Euros, like old classic games, like Catan and Ticket to Ride are still in print, right? Like that's going to happen forever. But like Castles of Burgundy just got like a remastered version of Castles of Burgundy that's going to bring that game to a new audience. And I think there's room for it, but going back now and even playing like the new Castles of Burgundy looks way better, but it still plays the same. And there's part of me that's like, well, okay, gaming has moved on from this. Like, this was a great game. It introduced a lot of really good things, and it's still a really good game. But what's new that could take Castles of Burgundy to the next level? Like, I'd almost rather have a Grand Austria Hotel 2 than this remastered Grand Austria, though I'm still really excited about it. But, you know, I think there's room to always be innovating and coming up with new stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think we have to choose. I don't think I want to choose. I think there needs to be room for both. We're generally fans of all things new and shiny, so I'm always we're always looking at sort of the newest stuff, and when you see something new and it's got some refreshing takes on some mechanics or mechanisms that are like, oh, I've not seen that before. That's cool. That's innately exciting. On the flip side, I'm a huge advocate for old stuff being reprinted or new versions like the ones that Ryan were just talking about, because as the hobby grows, obviously, these are people who are coming into this. They may have been introduced with some of these newer things that are on the table these days, but they've never played Castles of Burgundy. Now, it's true they might go back and go, oh, yeah, this isn't maybe as good of an experience as this other game that I played that's kind of like Castles of Burgundy that's newer. But in many cases, like I said earlier about my, taking an old game off the shelf, sometimes some of those are still just greats, and play unlike anything else has played since that. In fact, I'd put Castles of Burgundy kind of in one of those categories. That's one of those games where every time I play it, I'm like, I still like this. I see why I like this, and I still like it. That's a game that'll probably never go out of my collection. But yeah, I like both. I think, why not both?
Awesome. And let's see, I have one more question. They said, now ask Ryan, Taskmaster or Deathstroke?
Oh, I feel like I know who asked that question.
Who is that?
Deadpool. That's the answer.
Deadpool isn't not an option, but Deadpool.
Oh, what were the choices?
Taskmaster or Deathstroke, which are like, but for me, it's 100% Taskmaster. I mean, I love Taskmaster. I have always loved Taskmaster since I first became aware of him. He's for those who don't know, a Marvel character that can copy people's powers, and he was supposed to be he's going to be in the Black Widow movie, and I was so excited when I first saw that trailer of Taskmaster in that movie. I like lost my mind, and the world played the cruelest joke on me by consistently pushing Black Widow back and back and back, and every time I'm like ready to see it, it gets pushed back again. But to finally get to see Taskmaster like in a live action movie, it's going to be so cool for me. So 100% Taskmaster. Sorry.
Hopefully it lives up to your expectations, Ryan.
I mean, I'm good at loving things, right? I'm just good at liking things. So I think I'll enjoy it.
I feel that. I've had a Black Widow cosplay ready to go for forever because I was so ready for this movie. I got it ready. I rushed it in time.
Right. I have a Taskmaster mask and everything. So
do you? You don't.
I do have a Taskmaster helmet. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Well, there you go. See, Ryan and I will be in cosplay for
there we go.
The Black Widow. We're ready.
Let's do it.
Awesome. That's all for me that I see.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here and talking with me, and for giving me a little bit more of your time. It was really awesome.
Fun.
Yeah, it was really awesome talking to you. Well, we're gonna have you back because I have more questions for you. So
awesome.
Anytime, Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. This was a blast. Thanks for having us very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And before we go, could you just remind us who you are, what you do, and where we can find both you and your work online for everyone watching?
Mainly on YouTube at Man VS Meeple, and then of all the social medias, it's at Man VS Meeple, VS, not versus.
And we have a Discord, MVM Discord, and Facebook page, and you can follow me on Twitter at Loremaster Ryan. I'm not super active on Twitter, but I do pop in and out. But definitely join us in our Discord. We have a lot of fun in there.
I love it. Yeah, I love that, and I will definitely be coming on. I feel like I have to get more into your Twitch. That is a thing that I feel like I need to.
Our YouTube, we do it all on YouTube Live.
Oh, you do it all on YouTube. Oh, okay, good. I was
we do every
Wednesday.
About...
Okay, because I have seen you go live there, but then I was like, am I missing something else? Is there like another element?
Every Wednesday at noon. So noon Eastern.
Okay, great. Cool. Then I have all my bases covered. Yay! Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Desiree, for producing off screen.
Yes.
And before we head out, I have a few more updates that I'm just going to remind you about. So Snallygaster Situation is available for pre-order. We also have the updated World's Fair of 1893, which has those diverse and playable influential characters from history, which is an Amazon exclusive. Very exciting. We've also got the Gravwell second edition, which I'm like way too excited about. Gravwell second edition. I'm going to need to make room on my shelf for that one. And of course, we have our Twitch schedule, so you can check that out. On Twitch, we do More Phenomenal Mondays, we do our Vampire Wednesdays, and of course, every Friday, we have the Renegade Society radio show. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Before we go, the giveaway word one more time for Raiders of the North Sea is Spotlight. So remember, there will be a link in chat. You can enter it, and you can, as you enter that word, think of all the beautiful spotlights that Man vs. Meeple has given us on games and insights. Yeah. All right. That's it for me. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye, friends. Don't forget to play your game.